pass around, I don't know if there's references. I'm kind of proud of this. I didn't earn it all. I have a lead foreman that works for me, and he's just about 60 years old, 30 years in painting, and he runs my field. And I have to give him probably, 50, 60% of this, but you'll see 3.5 pages of references. Call any of them. If we get a bad rap, you got a dinner on me. Today I'm going to talk about windows. I've never really talked about windows, but I'm turning in a revenue from one of our members, Rick, and he's going, and so it kind of motivated me to do windows. I've done them anyway, but it takes 5 weeks to get them, so I get frustrated. I'm a type A. I can't handle going out and get something and then wait for it. It comes in wrong. That's a problem. So basically, I'll pass some of this around, and then I'm going to draw some pictures about windows. And there are really lots of them out there. But let me dissect it to say, you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Contractor Warehouse, all of those companies typically have, they don't carry the higher end, they carry just entry level. You can special order from them the better window. So it's not that they don't offer. And of course, you've got to say, okay, if I go to a window distributor, I have to order them anyway. I can tell you from firsthand experience, it's a disaster to go through those companies to order anything. It won't come in on time, it'll be damaged, one will be short. I personally firsthand, through doors and windows and carpet, I've had that problem in every job that I've done, both with Lowe's and Home Depot. Just like banks, not every bank's perfect. So I'll just pass a few around, and those that are interested in a window can take one of these, and if you're not, just moving on. The two main types, companies that probably dominate more than anything is called Anlin, and the other one is Milgard, which I passed around. And then you have Gelwin, and then you have Solar, and then you have those. But there's a different arena, such as Pella, Weather Shield, Anderson. You've seen those. You'll see the ads. $500 off each window. Really? The window should cost $500. How can you give me $500 off? So what's happening?
Markup.
A big, huge, monumental, astronomical markup. Those companies advertise on the radio is sudden death. Yes, they do excellent work. Yes, they will back it up. Yes, they'll show up. Yes, they'll do all that. You're paying a really big price for that. So, and I'm not downplaying it, I'm just saying if that's the kind of window you want, yeah, then that's okay. So that's that type. But Middle America typically is going to be the Milgard, the Anlin. And so when you get to the types of windows, you have what they call a single hung, goes up like that. You have double hung, goes like this and goes like that. So you can do a top or bottom. Then you have slider. So essentially that's the three types of windows. I'm not talking about arches or anything like that, because that's just added to it. It gets to where you have a window here and a window here, and then you go up here and you have an arch like this, and it's like that, and then this slides this way, or it'll be like this. You can go up like that, you go up like that. So basically that's most of the windows we have. But you have a home that's wood in the front, stucco in the back. Now what do? So now we have two types of window to do on that. Because a new construction, I'm going to show you an end view, is going to be like, here's our glass, here's our frame, and there's the fin. So here's the 2x4 wall. So you can see, but I should really do it more like that. Let's do that, there. So that fin nails into the 2x4, and then out here, what do we have? Stucco, siding, whatever we want. Then we have a 2x4 on top of that for trim around it. That's on a wood house, so you put the fin. So you can't do a retrofit window on this. And a retrofit window is like this. They're fins like that. And then here's our stucco. Here's our stud, or siding or whatever. So I can't put it on top of that. I got this big gap here. So I have to rip that off and put it underneath. Well, then why use a retrofit? You just, well, cut the siding back and go put it in. It is more money to do the new construction, but some people don't like this retrofit. But on a stucco house, it's pretty good. It actually gives a little trim. So that's part of it. Yeah, now, so then the next thing to talk about is going to be what makes a window better or worse. You have, what you have is this piece of glass, another piece of glass, and then inside here they put argon gas. And then they put rubber seal on this, so it's sealed. Then this could be what they call low E, which means it saves energy and the sun doesn't affect it as much. Then they put that in a frame. So this glass is made by Owens Corning. There's not as many glass companies as window companies. So sometimes we look and we think a better window. Well, the glass all comes from the same place. And what are we buying? We're buying the frame, but most important, locks. And making sure that frame is a good solid frame. But it's going to be locked in. So really the glass is the most important. You've seen them where they're fogged up. That's where this seal didn't work. So you want to get a window that has a good warranty. And such as, the Allen window has a lifetime warranty, and also it's transferable from one home to another. So, sometimes that makes a difference. Milgard has the plant in Sacramento, so you're going to get service. You get other window companies, if they're made out of state, they'll have a rep come in, but don't expect to get it repaired really quickly, all right? So, now, then it gets down to cost when you're looking at cost. And it's just all over the map. Bonnie Plumbing, they got a fine for $10,000 for overcharging seniors. Mm-hmm. And it's public knowledge, or I wouldn't say it. Do they fix their things? Do they show up? Yeah, they do. Heck yeah, they do. And so that's fine. But the garbage disposal costs what? The actual disposal. How much?
Depends what you want.
Well, I know, but give me rough and low. Low and high.
Probably on the low side, $100, and on the high side, $3.
Yeah, okay, so we'll say $100, to $150 is the average disposal. And so Bonnie Plumbing is probably buying that disposal by the pallet for $65.
No,
85?
no,
Less than that?
$100.
Oh, they are?
The cheapest you
Bonnie?
get is $100.
They're buying by the pallet. The guy told me, the rep said he buys them. They get them by the pallet because they're doing it. So anyway, this one client paid $535 to change that disposal. Oof. So he went out the door with Johnny Fix-A-Quick on the truck. And he went out the door and the company said he had $325 going out the door. That rest of the money was for him. So he had to sell whatever he could above that to get it. Well, the windows can be like that. I'm not trying to, I'm just using, I don't have exact, but I do know that one client I spoke to, that's what they paid. And so that's why I don't mind representing it. And I've heard even worse stories, especially on trenchless work, going from a house to the street. So the windows, if you use just the average window, you'd use about $1,000 or $900 to about $1,200 per window if you've got enough windows. If you have 3 windows, you got a problem. But if you're gonna do a whole house, because you got a patio door that's bigger, you got some smaller, some bigger, but that'll be about the average. And so that's about where you are. But I have to do have to get a quote. I can get a quote in 1 day for you. And a lot of companies come up, they don't even, the salesman doesn't even know what to quote. He will stay in that house till he gets a sale. And you can't wait to get him out. So you gotta be aware of that. And when you do, you gotta get a stomach ache and say, I gotta call 911. I got man, I don't know what's going on with me. You gotta do, whatever it takes. Patio doors. Let's go back to patio doors, because that's what the big thing about a patio door is gonna be the lock, but the biggest one are the rollers on the bottom. How many patio doors you bump, and you can't move it in, you can't move it out, okay? So I favor the aniline over Milgard on patio door. And the reason is because they have super good rollers and they're awesome. We installed a 8-foot door. That means this is 4 feet and 4 feet. That's a big door. That door right there, you can't even, one guy can't even begin to put it. It's tough for 2. It's so heavy, the glass is heavy. So what do you think kind of rollers you need? You need good rollers. Yeah, these rollers are really sharp. I mean, they're good. They got rollers like there's sets of them under there. And then you have to crank it up to adjust that roller. But all the doors, you can reach in, there's a screw there, but you want to take pressure off the door before you adjust that roller. People go in and twist it, and you can strip the screw. Now you've ruined it. So you can see that hole down the bottom. It's like right underneath the track, but raise that, cock it up, and then adjust it. Put it back down. Does that work? Raise it up, adjust it a little more, one way or the other. So you can fix your own patio door. So really. That's the majority of a door and a window. I don't have a lot more to tell you about it, but I think that maybe gives you a little bit of help because it's a major purchase. People made up to $50,000 to change all their windows in a house because I had a house that had 52 windows in it, Woodbridge Ranch. We had 5,000 square foot house. I had 52 windows. I mean, I was like the Golden Gate Bridge, how they painted and went in and start over again, cleaning them, And I finally said, I'm a victim to this thing. I got to get out of this quicksand, and I sold it. It worked fine when we had our 9 children in there, and it was good. And we had 2 vacuums, and 1 vacuum upstairs and down. We had 2, so that we could get them. We taught them how to work. So, do you have any questions?
Bob, I do. On the new construction, the sliders are those folding sliders and huge. And I just had a client that replaced his sliders and they actually opened it up, like they, cut the stucco in the back to make the thing, because it's so popular right now. Those, that wall of glass. Do you see that as, the new?
Yeah, I've done
so. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a house in Folsom, Doctor had, the backyard was sloped up. It would cost him $50,000 to put a pool in, and that house was $1.2 million. So what do? So I walked through the house. First thing is, kitchen needs a facelift. Second is your family room super small, and you got another useless room on the other side. So I said, if we were to open up this wall and you could look out, put a deck, and you can't do a pool, but let's do a lap pool in there. So we craned a $20,000 lap pool over the top of the house, built composite deck, and then what I did is, it was like this, a fireplace in the corner, it came like that, and it was really narrow and small. And so there was a window here, a window here. I left that window, and I took all this out, and then all these slid back into one section. And that was 20,000 for that. So we spent 40,000 for just those two things, and then the deck. But he sold the home in a heartbeat when he went up with himself. But that opened it, and so that's what I enjoy doing, is this, function, light, design, color, all that. That's where I get my fulfillment. Because there's contractors everywhere. What do you want? When do you want it? When can I get a down payment and sign my contract? I don't have anything that says contract. It says agreement at the top. A bid estimate. And I think it's been probably 5 years, and I got one signature. The lady demanded me before I start to sign, so I went over. She's a doctor. She signed it and everything. I had fits with her. All the rest of them, no signatures. Everybody's paid. Have I lost money? Sure. Have I ever had to make something right because my eyes blew it? Sure I did. Cheaper than a lawyer.
That's true.
So there's a philosophy that goes into being a contractor or anybody when you're working with clients.
I have a question about.
Yeah.
So I have a backslider that opens up to my backyard and my pool, and I had this grand idea that I like those doors, but I don't know if it's big enough. But I thought about French doors, and then I was kind of talked out of it, saying that going from slider to French doors, it doesn't lock the same, open the same. Is that accurate, or is
Right now, as we speak, I'm going down to a house because we're installing an 8-foot pair of French metal doors in place of a patio slider.
Yeah.
They didn't like the slider.
I hate it.
So I got a slider for sale. So anyway.
How big is it?
And so
Good, I might
the
be
downside is obviously, when you get a door this tall, boy, you gotta put it in right because it's gonna tweak, you can see daylight, and I'm not gonna say the lizard's gonna crawl in, but people, the spiders, but it is an issue. So that's the downside. You have one permanent and one active, but you can open them both, which is good. Then they said, what do I do about a screen if I want a breeze to come in?
Oh, yeah.
Patio door has one. Oh, but this doesn't. But there are blind companies that make magnetized. They're on one side, you just pull it across and it magnetizes on the other side. So you can fix that. They're not inexpensive, but you can do it.
Just to reinforce your point about windows and so forth, my house is 24 years old in Folsom. 2 years ago, I replaced the windows, and the bids that I got, there was 100% difference between the low bid and the high bid for exactly the same windows. Exactly the same windows.
Yeah.
But the improvement that it made in my cooling and heating bills, and especially the noise, is amazing how much quieter the house is.
Yeah, that's really a fact. And I thank you for bringing that up because I didn't talk about that benefit of it. I went into the function of it. But it's well worth it because people talk about all the the benefits and things, and we all talk about energy saving. And if it would take me 3 hours to talk about everything you should do or could do is a better way. Say it, save energy in a house. I mean, it's all over the place. And so you can't do all of those and live long enough to get the benefit. So you have to pick and choose, out of the supermarket. Is that it? Yeah.
Last question, I'll keep it tight. Someone walks into our house and they're selling us windows. What can we negotiate, and what are some things we can ask for?
I think the answer to that is 3 to 4 bids,
Okay. In there, you'll find the spread of options.
just like what happened. Because when you do that, and you will ask for, and one person will be more communicating about certain aspects of your house and what's going on. Another one is strictly focused on trying to sell their company, get that window sold to you any way they can.
Not one of the 3 that came out could do a price on the spot. They all had to go back to the office to,
Well, if they give you a price on the spot, it'll be too high, which means that a lot of them are like that. And they'll think, people ask me all the time, how much to do this bathroom? And I said, well, somewhere between 5 and 15,000. More. And I said, did I answer that? I said, I need to know what
What you're
quality
gonna
we're
do.
doing here. And I said, I'm not trying to slow you down. And now, if you want me to hit you a budget, I can say, this is what it'll be if you do that. Okay, am I up? Time
Yeah,
up?
your time is up.
Good.
Thank you, Bob.